Father, that the agenda that is discussed and our policies are crafted, we would always put our people's interests ahead of our own. Remind us, Father, that we are in this position not to be served, but to serve the public, just as Christ, who is King, came not to be served, but to serve and ultimately die on the cross to save us. I also pray, Father, that we will uphold what is moral and rational. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
We will now move into the public comment section of the agenda. Heather, do we have anything for public comment?
Chris Moran.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor Gunter, council members. My name is Chris Moran, Superintendent of San Angelo ISD, 1621 University Avenue in District 1. And I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to share updates from the district. During the summer of 2024, the school district engaged in a comprehensive facility study. It was followed up this past fall by a committee of more than 60 citizens and leaders of the city of San Angelo reviewing all of the information from that facility study and other presentations with the goal of recommending capital projects to our Board of Trustees. The Board of Trustees heard the recommendations in December and have met twice since then to discuss the projects and consider calling a bond election for May 3rd. It's very likely that the San Angelo ISD Board will call for a bond election on February the 10th in the amount of $397 million to address old and failing facilities across the district. If the bond measure passes, the average taxpayer in San Angelo ISD would pay about $32 more per month in school taxes. The future success of our city is tied directly to the quality of the public schools in San Angelo. San Angelo ISD is certainly not in competition with the city, but has intentionally included city citizens and leaders in our facility advisory committee process. I feel certain all of you are fully aware of the intentions of the school board to call this bond election for May 3rd. As you consider your business and the future agenda items, I encourage you to be mindful of the work happening in San Angelo ISD, and I sure appreciate your time and consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Moran. Is that it, Heather? All right, so we will move into our consent agenda. Larry, is there any item? None. Is that what you said? Okay, Karen? Lucy?
No, ma'am.
Harry?
No, ma'am.
Tom?
Nothing to pull.
Tommy?
No, ma'am.
With that, may I have a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
So moved by Harry, seconded by Tom. Any public comment concerning the consent agenda? With no public comment being offered, we will take a vote. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes, or consent agenda passes 7-0. We will now move into the regular agenda. Comments regarding items on the regular agenda may be made by the public when each item is discussed as outlined above. To participate, please sign in with the city clerk prior to the beginning of the meeting. Speakers will be called in order they signed in. Comments are limited to less than 3 minutes. Applicants, proponents, and appellants are exempt from the time limit above and instead must limit their remarks to less than 5 minutes. We will start with item A, consider resolutions of general support for construction of affordable housing projects as part of the 2025 annual low-income housing tax credit program. The only item that we will discuss today is item 3, the Madeline, which is located at 4125 Ben Ficklin Road. The other two, item 1, the Concho Vista residence, and the Commons at San Angelo have been pulled.
Thank you, Mayor.
Morgan Chegwin, Interim Director of Neighborhood and Family Services. As you mentioned, the Madeline is before you today asking for a letter, a resolution of support, and this is to go to the TDHCA as they continue through their application process so that they bring low-income housing to our community and get tax credits in that project. So I do have Mario Trevino here to speak to the details of the Madeline project located at 4125 Ben Ficklin Road.
Perfect, thank you. Mayor Gunter, council members, thank you for the opportunity to share some information about our proposed project. My name is Mario Trevino. I'm representing Roundstone Development. So our proposal really consists of the rehabilitation of a 50-year-old property that is in severe need of repairs. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Bella Vista Apartments, but it's located on Ben Ficklin Road and right off South Bryant Boulevard. Not a great picture here, but this is the current site plan. It's 80 units total. We are planning to add a clubhouse with an amenity center and an extra 2-bedroom unit where the basketball court is right now, top right of your screen. We are going to fix the pool, renovate the laundry rooms, hopefully add a fence along the east side of the property. We're going to paint the exterior wall, improve the landscaping, fix the roofs. As far as inside the units, it's granite countertops, new cabinetry, new flooring, new windows, new doors, new appliances, new plumbing fixtures. It's going to look like a different community once we're done with it. Some information about the development team. Roundstone Development's been around since 2004. They've developed over 2,000 units. They currently own 612 units, and we're very excited to work on this project. It's just a list of their experience, really highlighting their experience in multiple states. We've worked in Texas, Mississippi, Florida, and Arkansas. This is a project they worked on in 2014 in Temple, Texas. Now, this was new construction, so I'm not suggesting Bella Vista Apartments will look like this, but we'll absolutely try our best to beautify it as much as we can. Just a different picture of the same project, Temple. Another senior housing project in Plano, Texas. In Uvalde, Texas, 80 senior living units. We're planning to add a fitness center in the clubhouse. It will look very similar to this. And we're looking for space to add some sort of business center within the site, hopefully to look something like this. We're open to provide references upon request, and with that, I'll open it up to any questions you may have. Thank you.
Would you describe low-income housing in terms of what is the income level of the individuals who would be able to live here?
Right. Most of the units will be 60% units. We do have some 30% and some 50% units, but.
So what income is 60%? Talk about income.
I believe the area median income here is $65,000, so residents that make 60% of that will qualify for these rights, or 50 or 30, depending on the unit.
Is it currently a low-income housing apartment complex?
It is not, no.
So it would convert.
Correct.
So currently it's a market.
Yes.
Questions for this project?
No.
I see no questions at this point, so that means I would ask for a motion. So moved by Larry, seconded by Karen. Public comment?
None.
Let's take a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Item B, consider calling and ordering the May 3rd, 2025 elections authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute an agreement for election services and providing for the holding of a joint election to be administered by the Tom Green County Election Administration for, one, a resolution calling the general election for mayor and council members for single-member districts 2, 4, and 6, and 2, an ordinance calling for a bond election for improvement to the city's Coliseum. Presentation will be made by Heather and Tina, and I'm sure a few other people. All right, so Tina, are you up first?
Tina Deersky, Director of Finance. Yes, Mayor, I'm going to introduce Justin Jonas. He's going to come up and speak about the project, and then I'll follow up with a funding plan if council is interested.
Good morning, Mayor. Good morning,
morning.
Council. Thank you for allowing me to be here today. The thing that we want to talk about is we're asking for you to put a bond election out for our citizens to vote for a $41 million reconstruction of the Coliseum. As you all know, that the Coliseum has needed renovation for many, many years, and you all know that there's a lot of things that we've needed to update for us to continue with that Coliseum the way it's going forward. It's been 66 years old. It's been touched a couple of times, hasn't been touched in many years. You know that when we come to the rodeo, it's really hard for us to, our main goal today is to try to get more grandstand seats put in that Coliseum. Last year, when we put our tickets on sale, we sold out in just a few hours, and we had over 80,000 IP addresses that were trying to buy tickets. We had 13 performances this past year. We added another performance and had a Tejano Day and had a Mexican rodeo in the Coliseum, and it brought people to town into our Coliseum that probably have never even been in our Coliseum, and that sold out immediately as well. And so what we're asking for when we first started was many years ago when Rick went with us and some of my officers, and we went to the Corpus Christi and looked at a new venue there. We loved that venue, but we know that we can't afford a $200 million brand new Coliseum. We know that's not possible, and we would never ask our citizens to have to pay for that. That's one thing that we have over 1,200 volunteers that serve the community every year. The last 2 years, the Chamber put a economic impact study out that the stock show and rodeo was bringing in $78 million to the city of San Angelo. When the half-cent sales tax passed about 20 years ago and the spur was built, the livestock barns were built, that was a $13 million reconstruction of all of the barns and the spur out there. After 5 years, there was an economic impact study done by Harold Dominguez, and it was $33 million that was generated at the stock show and rodeo at that time. So $13 million turned into $33 million to the city, and now we're looking at a $78 million economic impact. There's no doubt that we have the largest economic impact event for the city of San Angelo. I want you to know that I travel all over the nation, and we talk to other rodeo committees, and San Angelo is definitely on the map for our rodeo that we have in this town. I know, Mayor, I've heard you say to me many times that you have always wanted to try to make the dot bigger on the map for San Angelo. And I will tell you, in the rodeo community and all over the nation, that San Angelo is very well known. But our problem is that we're hamstrung on a lot of people being able to come and see our rodeo. And we hired an architect and engineer just to do a look at the Coliseum to see what it looks like and what the bones are like and if it's even possible to renovate it. Fortunately, 66 years ago, the concrete was a lot stronger than it is now, and construction workers back then really built that Coliseum, and it's very strong. It has great bones in it. It's very old, and it needs a lot of updating. But he told us when we asked him if there any way we can at least get to 7,500 seats that we can have in that Coliseum. After they did their work and they looked at it, they said the Coliseum, the bones are very strong. They were able to put the grandstand seats and get us up to 8,000 seats. And our architects and our engineers got together and they looked at it, And they showed us that we could not only just put grandstand seats, that's only where grandstands, we never want to change the feel or the atmosphere of the Coliseum. It is very well known to being one of the loudest rodeos in the country. All of the cowboys love it, and that's why, and our citizens know rodeo. They know that if you have to perform to be there, the guys want to come and they want to compete for us. And I know all of our citizens are very well knowledged in rodeo. They love our rodeo and they continue to support us. And they continue to allow our volunteers that we've had for many, many years. I'm pretty nervous up here because we've had many, many presidents over the years. The Stock Show and Rodeo has been around for over 90 years. It was started by you in the Great Depression because it was built so people could come together and they could have joy, try to lift their spirits that was coming out of the Depression. That same spirit is still out there today. People that have grown up here, many of you have grown up here, have always known about the rodeo. We want our kids, when they go off to college, we want them to come back to San Angelo. We want them to keep moving forward. We want the stock show and rodeo to grow, and in return, that's going to give just more and more recognition to San Angelo. I'm asking you today to allow the voters to vote on it. I'm not asking you to be for it or against it. I'm just asking you today to approve it and let them vote and let them decide. If they want us to keep moving forward, that we will continue doing that, and we will continue. Our rodeo can grow. We can produce more economic impact just because people from out of town that have never been able, that we get hate mail, and we get calls all the time that there's not enough seats. Well, when we put them for sale and they sell so fast, people say don't have season tickets. I've never seen of a venue or an event that you don't want to sell season tickets. We sell season tickets. Our patrons from this town have over 50% of them already bought before they even go on sale. That's why it only takes a couple hours, and that's why people get upset when we sell out so fast. But I want to tell you that, give you some slides here, that when our engineers, we hired them to do that, we paid $1.4 million to come up with plans and for a new Coliseum that would increase our seats. Once they put the grandstand seats in, they came to us and said they can go up. Now, we can have a club level seating that would be a cheaper seat where people are mainly gathered and they can watch the rodeo, because up so high, first of all, you can't have grandstand seats, but you could have a club level seating. And that would be a cheaper seat that people can go to. They can network, people from all over. We're finding out more and more that people love to come, businesses love to come, and they're networking out there. And there's also many other businesses that have grown because of the Stock Show and Rodeo and being out there. So we want people to come out. So the club level seating can be there. There's also room for skyboxes. I know there's been some debate on having suites or stuff like that, but I want to tell you that the governor came to our rodeo a few years ago. His team would not even let him stay to watch our rodeo because it wasn't safe. We don't have any place to put a dignitary or people that come to visit our rodeo that would be safe if we ever have that again. He was able to go in and talk, and he had to immediately get out, and he had to go out. He was one of the few days of the year that it was raining. He had to sit out in his car. We put a little tent out there so his car, and when he got out, wouldn't get wet. But then we had to get him in. He got in real quick and came back out. So I'm hoping that with these skyboxes, with the club level seating, and with over 8,000 seats, grandstand seats that would be available for the public, that would double our capacity of over 10,000 capacity of seats that can be in the Coliseum. We have talked about the Coliseum renovation be a shovel-ready project for you. Sasero will execute a Chapter 38 agreement with Tina. She will talk about that in a minute. One thing that we are saying to you, that right now we have a 20-year lease that we do with all of the buildings, the Spur and all of the rest of the buildings out there except the Coliseum, and we maintain them, we run them for the city of San Angelo. I will tell you that the rodeo is the only thing that really makes a profit out there. The stock show that's going on right now, that all of the hotel rooms have been sold out. You have not been able to get a hotel room. The stock show doesn't really have a major profit, but it is, those volunteers are out there doing that because we know that it impacts the city of San Angelo. And if any of you tried to get a hotel room in the last couple of days, we just started Friday. One of the reasons why some of us are late and being tired today is because we've been out there for 3 days straight, basically, and we'll continue for 2 more weeks. We have an agreement with you that we maintain all of those buildings out there. We're willing to do that with the city, with the Coliseum, if y'all are wanting us to do that. We will maintain it, we will run it, we will have events come to this town, and every single ticketed event, we've talked about of doing a city facility use fee that would go to COSA. So $2. And I know before, when that was happening many years ago, there was always a fight on, well, this was a comp ticket on other venues, other events. This was a comp ticket, or this was a sponsored ticket, and this was a ticket that was actually paid for. And everybody was trying to give you the $2 for only the tickets that were paid for. But I will say that any ticket, if it's a sponsored ticket, a comp ticket, or a paid ticket, would be $2 surcharge that would go to the city of San Angelo. So if we just had right now, we had 14 performances, that'd be 70,000 seats that were sold out. That'd be $140,000. We feel like we will immediately go to at least a 70%, being very conservative, of a 70% sellout with this renovation. That would increase, I think right now, I was told that there was a net, and it's on the slide, of $62,000 is what the Coliseum nets to COSA at this moment, after you pay your labor and all of your expenses. I think we will go to 250 plus pretty easy the first year, once it's done, for the city of San Angelo. We will work hard on bringing other events to this town, not just the rodeo. There's many events that can come to San Angelo, and with a venue of this size, there's no doubt that it would be more attractive for people to move in. If you compare the facility right now to what it would be in the future, right now we can sell less than 5,000 seats because we put a big production stage out there on making part of our rodeo good one of the best. We have a major production that goes on, and we put those over some seats and take a lot of seating that cannot be used at the moment of the rodeo just to have our rodeo at the level that it is. There's 12 to 16 handicap seats. That is one thing that is heartbreaking every single year, that we get calls that people cannot come to the rodeo that are handicapped. They don't even have, there's not even an area for a companion to sit. Well, that would change to 56 handicap seats with 60 accompanying seats that can be with them. 21 lavatories. If you don't know what that is, those are sinks. I didn't know what it was. 21 lavatories right now are in the Coliseum. It would move to 254. There are 5 urinals and 4 troughs. The troughs have been kind of a talking point amongst every man that's ever been to the Coliseum for years. And I think those 4 troughs can possibly be auctioned off once this thing is approved. Water closets, those are toilets. Right now we have 43. And if you've ever seen the lines during the rodeo, the ladies' restroom that wraps around and continues to go every year, that would change to 247. That's a major increase in the restroom, for the restrooms. 92 showers, that was put on there if this ever is used as a emergency shelter. The restrooms that are underneath the bleachers right now, we're not going to be used for more restrooms, and those could be turned into showers if that is ever needed. That's at this moment for this expansion, that wouldn't be done unless it's needed. It'd be an extra cost to it, but it is capable of doing that. That Coliseum is capable of doing that. So I've talked about what the projection of the money could be to COSA, but I just want to show you what we could look at, what the Coliseum could look at. We could look like. We had, looked at $250 million, $300 million facilities that have been going up all over the country. One thing that I will tell you is our neighbors that are 90 miles down the road have increased, have put $250 to $300 million in their fairgrounds, and they want what we have. They want what San Angelo has. Can they ever have that, even if the naming rights were sold to them to take our stock show and rodeo? I don't think so, because this town and the volunteers that we have are so educated in how to run a rodeo and how to run a stock show. I don't think anybody in the country can ever have what we have. But everybody is fighting to have it. They copy what we do in every single rodeo. They're improving their facilities. And if we don't do something soon, we're going to start going backwards instead of forward. And that is something that the stock show and rodeo does never want to do. But if we start stepping back, we're going to have to start looking at a lot of other options on what to do. This is what the Coliseum can look like. And of the $250 million, $300 million facilities that we have looked at, I feel like this renovation can make this look the same way for $41 million. And we will have 10,000 seats. And that's what is needed to keep moving forward for the rodeo. You can see on the north and the south view, we will have 3 different levels. There will be elevators, major elevators that can take people up to these levels to get to their seats. The east and west view of what it can look like. The site views of looking down, I wanted to show you. This would be from a west side, and this is the club level and skybox level seating. You can see that you cannot see the entire part. Obviously, that's not as good as having a grandstand seat. But when you put video boards in the front, just like any other major venue, you've got video boards in the center, a cluster of 4 all the way around. That is mainly what you will be seeing from the club levels. So we will tell you that we will market this entire project. We're not asking for you to put 1 nickel in it. We will market it. We will do everything from for April and March and April that we can do to get this out to the citizens, to educate them on what we do out there and what we plan on continuing to do and to work for the city of San Angelo. And I ask for your vote today, and I ask for the citizens, we'll ask for them to trust us like they did before 25 years ago in putting money into these facilities, and that we will keep the economic impact running and will hopefully continue to grow the rodeo. Thank you.
Very good presentation, very
Thank you.
informative, and I think you delved into a lot of issues that are important for the public to know and understand. And as you go out and market this, make sure you cover those very same things, because you hit on a lot of key points, and I think your points are very well taken.
Thank you very much.
Good job. How long would this take?
Well, we've looked at the first time when you knew when we moved the rodeo to April because of COVID, we didn't want to have to social distance. We knew that wouldn't be possible with the few seats we have, and the fights who gets a seat and who doesn't. And you helped me get 100% when we moved to April. And we know that we cannot not have a rodeo. So the plan is to do everything from the outside first and keep the inside. Don't break a wall, don't go in. Do everything from the outside right after a rodeo for 1 year, and then have the rodeo, and then the next, once that rodeo is over with, break the walls and do everything in the inside and have it ready for the next rodeo. So 2 years.
So it would, if passed, it would start in 2026?
It's up to you. If it came in May and it was approved, I don't know how fast that happens.
Yeah.
If we need to take bids or what we need to do, how long it takes. But yes, if that's the case, that's what we would do. We would love to start right after election, obviously.
Well, I will say that a big no to another city
Yes,
90 miles away,
Yes.
having an opportunity to take what you've built and
Exactly.
the economic impact of the rodeo stock show
Exactly.
to San Angelo.
well,
We
my
can't
job is
lose
to
it.
try to protect this rodeo,
Yeah.
and that's why we're here.
Good point. Council, do you have questions at this point for Justin? Or comments that you'd like to make? Karen?
I also appreciated your presentation. It was really quite wonderful. I loved the level of detail and the imaging that helps us visualize what the future will look like. And you're right, we love the rodeo and we want good things for the future. My concern is the timing because of the big bond that Dr. Moran was mentioning to us this morning about SAISD. That's a hard thing for the citizens. And so I am willing to let this go to the voters to decide, but it's a lot to ask all in the same election. And I know that if they decline this, then you have to wait several years, do you not? Is that 3 years that you have to wait until you
That's
can
what I've been told.
present
Yes, ma'am.
again? So I'll be watching with great curiosity. I think that we've all known for a long time that the SAISD bond was imminent, They haven't passed a bond in, I think, about 15 years, so I'm just a little nervous
Yes,
about
ma'am.
your timing.
I understand. Thank you. I think Tina will talk, but I think, I'm not for certain she can say it, but an average household would be a little over $4 that it would cost per month to have this done. So she can correct me if I'm wrong.
$4. Yes, sir, Larry?
Dr. Moran let us know that for a household it's going to be $32. So you're tacking on another $4 on that, and that's getting kind of uncomfortable.
I understand. You know, I just feel like we want our voters to put it in their hands, what they want to do. This was the very last option that we would want to do. We never wanted a voter to have to pay for this, but unfortunately, I think we're running out of time on getting the Coliseum renovated enough to meet the demand.
You know, one of the important things that we must always emphasize is that, yes, it might cost you $4, but what does the city gain from that? Because the two things that we have to have happen in this city is growth in sales tax dollars and growth in property tax dollars. If you do nothing, you get nothing. You have to invest back into your community. You must invest back into your facilities in order to get money brought into this city. Diane Bays told us at one point, and this is several years ago, that 51% of the sales tax dollars come from people outside of this city in the city. That means sales tax dollars, which we have about 25 million, for only 49% of that number comes from citizens who live within the city and the surrounding, I'm not sure how many miles outside the city. So it says to us, if we don't do something to improve facilities and focus on something that has been putting San Angelo on the map for a long time, we will start to lose. You can only not invest for a certain amount of time before you start to get a negative return. And so for $4 a month, what you're saying is for $4 a month, the economic impact, you want to repeat that number?
Well, 2 years ago, it was $78 million. It's only going to continue to grow if we grow up. I don't have a projection of what that'll be, obviously, but I know that, you know, we're going to increase, we're going to have 40,000 more seats that are going to be sold, 40,000 more seats of people that can come from out of town or our own patrons to produce more economic impact for the city.
I think the fact that we're talking about a $2 facility fee is key here, because if we can do a $2 facility fee and the city can bring more money in, then the city wins on this too. So 40 million, 41 million for $4 a month, more economic impact, a bigger rodeo, more people, more dollars is important. Yes, Tommy?
I was just going to say, I'd like to hear from Tina. Justin, thank you.
Yep,
I
thank
too
you.
appreciate what you
She's
said.
got the numbers.
Yes, Tom?
Justin, I think there's some key things here that are in the elements of the presentation that the association does, and I have institutional knowledge working with y'all for 10 years. Taking this position in 17 to be on council, a lot of the goal of that was just for this one decision today. But if this goes over 41 million, the projected 41 million, how does the stock show handle that?
Stock show will handle the overage.
Any overage, y'all take that. How many, I'm excited about the skyboxes and the suites. Can you expand upon what they can be used for and how many there are?
Well, we're looking at 50 on the skyboxes. They can be used for many things. Meeting rooms, there's also going to be over 20,000 square foot on the east and the west side that can be used for meeting rooms, that we can have an expandable wall that can convert down to just a few intimate meetings or have a big, large group in them. But they can be used for multiple things. That's one thing there at the Stock Show and Rodeo that we turned a barn into a wedding venue every month and stuff like that. We will be innovative as much as possible and meet needs of other events that want to come to town. We share with you guys. You guys share our stuff, and we share y'all's back and forth now. But as other demands come and what they want to get met, we have a lot of other rooms that are out there as well. So that can be used with this for other events.
My final question is, a lot of people don't understand what the foundation does. So there's a lot of talk about youth, and I think if you would give them 1 minute of a little bit about the direction of the foundation, that would
Very
be
good
beneficial.
question. I should have brought that up earlier. But, our motto is preserving Western heritage and educating youth. We're a nonprofit 501c3. Everyone knows that at the end of the year, any leftover monies move over to our foundation, and it grows for educating youth, for giving scholarships. When I first started, there was one scholarship given of $4,000, and we had over 200 applicants. And now we're giving 20 to 30 scholarships of $8,000 to $16,000 at the moment. So our foundation has grown with our monies. We have a whole separate foundation committee that handles all of that. But our scholarships have matched a lot of the cities, like I said before, that are our competitors that have a million population plus. So we're very proud of our scholarships. You have to have exhibited a project or had an entry in our Stock Show and Rodeo to apply for this, but they're all Texas youth. We have over 240 counties that represent in the Stock Show from kids from all over the state of Texas.
Cool, thank you.
So at one point, and I'm not suggesting we have hockey again, but at one point, okay, we converted that floor to a ice rink. Could one convert that floor to a basketball court or a volleyball court?
I think the Harlem Globetrotters played in there when I was real little. I saw
So that's very possible, because I'm
Yes,
very
ma'am.
focused on
Yes, ma'am.
trying to do youth sports facilities.
for sure.
And if the Coliseum could also be converted into a facility that would help support the youth sports in this community, I think it would be terrific.
Ma'am.
Tina?
Thanks.
Okay, so, excuse me, this bond referendum would be in the amount of $41.6 million. The projected tax rate impact to the citizens would be between 4.2 and 4.7 cents, depending on how long we want to amortize the bonds. The difference in the interest there, though, of course, for that half cent is $10 million in interest costs over the life of the bonds. Our financial advisors are currently projecting an interest rate of about 5.87 to 5.98%, again, depending on amortization. Of course, this bond will be sold on a taxable basis because it will not be operated by the city at that point. And then, as Karen mentioned earlier, there would be a 3-year moratorium on any future debt issue for this particular venue, this specific venue. And I have Rudy Segura here he's our bond counsel, and he wanted to kind of give you some information on what we could do if we do call for an election on this project.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Valenzuela, members of the council. My name is Rudy Segura. I'm with McCall, Parkhurst, and Horton. We have the privilege of being bond attorneys to the city of San Angelo. I've had the privilege of working on San Angelo deals for about 13 years now. We do a lot of bond elections statewide. We have gotten so busy with bond elections, we have hired first one full-time election lawyer. Now we have 2 full-time election lawyers who do nothing but bond and special tax elections. Ms. Rose Kanuski in our San Antonio office drafted the ordinance before you, and she could not be here today because she's juggling like 60 bond elections right now that are being called. But, with bond elections, they've become sort of a battleground statewide in the legislature, and there's a lot of legislation that has come, that is currently in effect, and more that's coming. And so a law that's been around that hasn't hasn't gone to court a lot yet, but it's become a big issue, is the 3-year moratorium on COs. So in 2013, the legislature said if you put anything on the ballot, city or county, and if it fails, then you cannot issue certificates of obligation to fund anything that's like remotely similar to that project. So we tried to be somewhat specific in the bond election, put the address of the Coliseum. Basically, we're not talking about all city parks. We're talking about the fairgrounds here. So that if it fails, the goal is it's isolated just to the Coliseum and the fairgrounds and wouldn't affect other city improvements. There was a bill that passed in both houses last session that would extend that to a 5-year moratorium and would apply it to COs and tax notes. That bill passed, but it was vetoed by Governor Abbott with 75 other bills. There's another bill right now, 2 bills actually, that would kind of do the same thing. And, you don't know what the likelihood of passage is, but it would extend it to a 5-year moratorium, and it would say you cannot put it back on if it fails, not only can you not debt fund it by other means, you also cannot go ask voters again for 5 years. So that is another bill that's on the ballot. And again, we cannot speculate as to whether that's going to be successful or not, or what it's going to morph into. Interestingly, it doesn't cover tax notes, which was kind of the sore subject. There was the city of Amarillo authorized $260 million for COs. It was petitioned, and the voters, shot it down, and the city tried to issue a $260 million tax note. And they were sued by citizens. The Attorney General's office intervened and joined the citizens group to stop the city. And ultimately, the Court of Appeals killed that issue on other grounds. So that's kind of the environment we live in. And so just, again, to make you all aware as we're going into what it means to put something on the ballot and what the potential consequences are. The other thing that takes effect, as obviously y'all as elected officials are aware of the prohibition on the use of public funds for political advertising. And obviously that takes a certain shape when you're talking about candidate elections. It looks very different when you're talking about measures, like a bond. And so as soon as this governing body votes to adopt this ordinance, assuming it's adopted, that provision goes in effect. And so no public funds can be utilized to advocate for or against the measure. And advocacy obviously can be, go vote for it, or there were statements made today that could be considered advocacy, right? Like, it's a good deal, this is the way of the future, this is, we need this. Those statements, the Ethics Commission would call that advocacy. Statements like that could no longer be made on city-owned property, all right, including the dais, this convention center, nor could the city allow that kind of advertising to occur on any city-owned property. That would include the fairgrounds. Okay, the city could not legally permit the Rodeo Association to promote the bond on any city-owned property, including the fairgrounds. All right, that's state law.
So where could they?
It would have to be somewhere outside of city-owned property, right? It could be at events, it could be churches, 4-H club, Kiwanis club, Rotary club, other civic groups that are holding meetings outside of government-owned property. So this applies not just to your bond, it also applies to any statements about San Angelo ISD's bond election, once they call it. They haven't called it, is what I heard. And so this prohibition, it only takes effect once there's a measure. And the measure happens when the vote is called to call the election. The other thing is, like, lately is pictures, photographs. They couldn't be authorized to use photographs of the rodeo grounds to promote the bond if those photographs were taken from a place of privilege, right? Where you could only access it by the fact that you're an authorized employee or representative of the city, right? And so you can take a selfie of yourself outside of a courthouse, you're running for judge, and have the courthouse in the back, if any citizen could do the same thing. But there's been like 3 Ethics Commission complaints where there's judges for reelection that take a selfie of themselves at the bench in their robe, and they're saying, no, the only, that's not, the courtroom is open to the public, but not everybody gets to sit up there in that robe with the gavel and take a picture. City of Dangerfield and Lone Star, we had one mayor was running for reelection, the other mayor was supporting him. He said, hey, come over, I want to tell people I'm supporting you. And they came over, he went to the city council chambers, unlocked the door, and they snapped a picture. He said, I'm supporting this guy for mayor. This mayor was not up for reelection. He was just supporting the neighboring town's mayor. Well, they filed an ethics complaint against him, and the Ethics Commission said, yes, you violated the statute. You used a photograph, a depiction of city council. He said, but city council chambers is open to the public. Anybody can come in here. He said, what time of day it was? He said, it was 4 o'clock. And so how'd you get into council chambers? Well, we had the janitor unlock the door. Well, then who took the picture? Oh, I made the janitor took the picture. And so the Ethics Commission said, even if we were to admit that the council chambers was open to the public, you had a special privilege to go in there during closed times, and you used the city employee to take the picture. And so you're using public funds for political advertising. So that goes to city listservs, email domain. No city resources can be used to promote. Go ahead, sir.
Right, now, finish what you need, and I've just got a follow-up question. Or if you're ready, I'll go ahead. So you're talking about public funds, but if the Coliseum is leased to a nonprofit foundation for a period of a month, that kind of there's not public funds there. So would they be able to market the bond as they have obligated themselves to? Because that doesn't involve public funds at all.
But you're using city taxpayer-owned property, the Coliseum itself.
It would be on that property, yes,
Right,
but it's
yeah.
not public funds.
And so I think the Ethics Commission would consider that, it's a very, very easy line to cross. Again, they've used, mailboxes, there was a community college district, the board president allowed the PAC to store the yard signs in his office. They said that was a violation. They said lately the big thing is Facebook. They have the city or the school district official Facebook page. And so the question to me was like, well, is that a public fund? Is a free Facebook page that was created by the PR person, a city resource? And the Ethics Commission has answered yes. And so there's somebody will post something, and you got board members or council members on there bickering about, you should vote for this or you should vote against it. And the Ethics Commission said that's a violation. You were using a public resource to promote, advocate for or against the measure, and you violated the statute.
I think the most important thing to learn from this is they're going to need your phone number before you leave today to ask questions.
I will send a memo out to staff, and
I hear a lot of negatives, but I think, the whole point of this is getting back to the opportunity to move forward with that. You've put in what we would call headwinds that are just going to be particular elements they're going to have to work around as they market the property. It's not an obstruction, but it's an obstacle that they just need to be cognitive of as they move forward.
Absolutely, that's right.
Cool.
And just trying to discharge my duty to y'all as your attorney, because, I've been in situations like this, and then we call for the election, and as soon as I walk out, there's a camera here, and the governing body, president, mayor is shouting to vote for the election on live TV. And so
I'm in trouble already. I haven't even got started.
So I just wanted to throw that out there again, just as your bond counsel. And yes, we're available to review any sort of, my understanding is you're not going to be preparing your own literature or web page or anything like that. You're going to let the Rodeo Association do it, but when a lot of our clients do, and so part of our job is to review all that and to make sure that, none of it we think is going to raise an ethics complaint. Anyhow.
Cool, thank you.
My pleasure.
Yes, Larry?
You've given us a real good idea how we can all go to jail, okay? What I really would like to know is the positive marketing things you can do for the bond.
So you can inform, right? So that's the thing. So as the city, you can inform people of what's being built. So you can talk about the project. You can show, architectural renderings of what it's going to look like, of what the improvements are going to look like. You can show the costs. You can talk about, how many, seatings there's going to be, how much new water closets we're going to have, and give very objective facts. All right, so you can talk about the capacity right now. Right now, we're at a little less than 5,000. The projected new capacity would be about 8,000, right? 10,000. So my apologies. So you cannot, and then it kind of has to stop there, right? Then you talk about the tax rate impact to give balance, where you're presenting positive information and negative. You can show pictures of the current facility. You don't want to show like the one picture of the
Like
corner.
the troughs, you could show the troughs. That's what you could do.
At the
That's-
auction,
yeah.
the auction.
So I've had
Yeah.
like cities that want to do bond elections for streets, right? And so they show like the worst potholes in town on like a brochure. I'm like, no, that's now you're trying to persuade. That's the problem, because I can give you a bunch of facts that are totally, you can verify them on Wikipedia, but I can give you only the facts that are going to support a yes vote, or I can give you only the facts that are going to support a no vote. So that's what
What you can't do is ask them to vote for or against.
you can ask, yeah, but you can ask them to go vote. You can push out the vote, tell them to go vote, but you cannot try to
Sell them.
persuade them, right, sell it.
Well,
Go ahead.
to Tom's point, Mayor, I think these folks here in the audience either need to have their own counsel that has a pipeline to Rudy, or and our city attorney, Brandon, needs to work closely with Rudy so that there is no line crossed. Because I can see some lines that would easily be crossed totally unintentionally
Right.
by either party. So, Brandon, you may need an assistant, because this sounds like for the next 90 days, it would be pretty busy. Your office and your folks, these folks, either with their own counsel or working directly with you and Brandon as well. So, I would just encourage everybody, don't cross any lines, because it sounds like people don't have any hesitancy to file an ethics complaint, is what it would sound like.
Yeah, it's very easy to do. That's the problem, right? And you just file it, you're done. It's very simple. Email, you're done, and then you have to answer for it, right? And it's usually, anybody, it could be any city employee, right, that could be charged with it, but it never is. It's always governing body members and the head officer, city manager, superintendent, county judge, and the governing body that, if you authorized it, right? If somebody had too many Michelob Ultras and, they were announcing at the Coliseum and said, hey, it's early voting, go vote for the bond, and that was not authorized, that would be on them, right? That would not be on y'all.
Thank
Further
you.
questions?
problem.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No
Bad
more
beer,
Michelob
bad beer.
Ultras.
Not my
Okay,
fault.
so, any other questions or comments for anyone?
I think
I would-
Tina's got some more.
Yeah.
Okay, so this would involve what's called a Chapter 380 agreement between the city and SASRA, which would allow SASRA to operate and maintain the city coliseum at that point. It requires a proposal that they provide some measurable economic development benefits to the city, and also must include some clawback provisions that penalize for non-performance, or it could also be incentives that incentivize them to get to a certain timeline. And then just some examples, and Justin talked about a lot of these, but some examples of performance measures that could be included in a 380 agreement. Again, it needs to be clearly shown that this has some economic benefit to the city. So these are just some talking points. We talked about the $2 ticket fee, them taking over O&M. They've talked about another capital improvement project, I think, that their board discussed that might be also included in the agreement. Job creation and retention could be another one, or the number of attendees that come to each event would be another one. So just some discussion items. If y'all have any questions or want to talk through that any further, we can. But other than that, that's all I have to present.
Further questions or comments from council? Now's your time. Karen.
I'm curious how this affects civic events.
So the Civic Events Fund, their expenditure budget at the end of last year was around $234,000 for the Coliseum. So of course, that would be a savings realized to the city. Additionally, Sid did just some very high-level rough math on what it would cost to operate once this renovation had taken place, and he estimated that to be around $800,000. So again, a cost that we're not taking on because we won't be doing the O&M at the Coliseum at that point.
Further questions or comments?
Ma'am,
Yes, Larry?
I'm still concerned about the elephant in the room, the ISD bond. And if we don't consider that, I think we're in peril.
I truly believe that the citizens of San Angelo are smart enough to figure out the difference between voting for education, improvement to education, versus the Coliseum over here. I don't think it's competition. I don't believe the people who believe in education will say, I'm going to vote for this, but not for this. In my mind, they're two separate projects. They both have value. They impact this city in a major way, in much different ways, and in some, actually, the same, scholarships. So you can't put a big, hard line between the two and say there isn't a little bit of overlap, but I think the citizens know if we don't educate our kids and don't provide for our kids to get educated, then we lose as a city. But I also believe that our citizens are smart enough to understand quality of life. This is an investment in quality of life for our citizens, for people who live in the county, who live in the city. And without an investment in this facility and what it can bring, we are taking away quality of life. And that's one of the key things that we sell in this city is quality of life. This is a quality of life project. Quality of life is education. Secondly, it just so happens that they're both going to be on the May 3rd ballot, but I don't believe it's competition. Just don't believe it's competition, in my opinion. All right, it's time to take a vote.
Mayor?
Yes, Tommy?
I'd make a motion to approve item B, both number 1 and number 2.
Second.
Yes,
We
Heather?
want to take two separate votes, one on the general and one on the bond, please.
Yes. Okay.
I move approval of item B1.
Second.
Is there public, did anyone sign up for public comment? Okay, so we will take a vote on item B1. And remember, this vote is a vote to allow the citizens of San Angelo to vote on general election, to vote on whether they want, well, go ahead and repeat it.
So the general election is just to elect a
sorry.
mayor, single-member
Sorry.
districts.
This
2,
is
4,
simply
and
to
6.
reelect
Yes.
Larry Miller, if he's running, or
No.
we haven't, yeah, and for the mayor. So this is simply a vote on the election. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Now,
Mayor, I move we
Yes.
approve item B2.
Second.
and a second by Harry. Okay, now I will say this, that this vote is not your necessary vote of support for the bond. It is to allow the citizens to vote whether they want or do not want the improvements to the Coliseum. You might have a different opinion when you vote, but today is simply a vote to allow the citizens their right to decide whether they want to increase their property tax dollars by $4 a month to improve the facility.
$4 a month at a value of a $150,000 home. So that will obviously
It would
range.
increase if the value of the
I just
home.
want to make sure that's clear. So.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Is there public comment? We'll take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. We will now move into item C, first reading and public hearing of an ordinance amending the budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2024, and ending September 30th, 2025 for health insurance claims and IRS payment for arbitrage. Ouch.
Ouch. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so part of this health insurance fund budget amendment, you actually saw last year, but when we presented it, we didn't feel like we were clear enough of where the funding sources were coming from, so we're bringing it back. So this first one is to use departmental vacancies savings, and then we're going to transfer that over to the health insurance fund because it's struggling this year. And then the second part of it is a use of fund balance, which was what we had brought last year, but now that has fallen to fund balance since we didn't make the amendment or the transfer last year. So that will help to support this fund for this current year, and for next year's budget, we'll build in those increases to all the other funds coming in when we adopt the original budget. And of course, this next one is for arbitrage. The city was informed that we will have to make a $1.5 million payment to the IRS. That is related to the 2019 Hickory debt issue. And with that, we ended up earning more interest than we are allowed to for a tax-exempt bond, and so the IRS basically wants their cut of it. We earned $3.2 million today in that fund, and we're being required to send about almost $1.6 million to the IRS. So it's a
And what
good
do we
story
get to
because it
keep?
means we had high interest yields and low interest rates, but it still hurts.
And we keep what amount?
We will keep the remainder, the 3.2, it's about 1.6, 1.7 million in that fund, yes.
All right, questions for Tina on this item? Yes,
I'm just
Harry?
going to make a public comment if I may. And
Did
I
you
said
sign
that-
up to do that? Yes, I can't allow you to break the rules here.
Well,
You have a
I said
right
this
to
to Daniel,
speak.
Daniel and Tina yesterday. I understand that we've got to send this money, but I'm not really happy about it.
Under duress.
Oh, like they care? I mean, really?
You go North Chadbourn on them here.
Yeah.
Go North Chadbourn.
Thank you, Harry.
Move we approve as presented.
A second, please. Second. A second by Karen. Public comment, other than Harry's. Seeing none, hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
There will be no closed session today. On item 8, follow-up and administrative issues, consider approving various board nominations. Development Corporation, Matt Lewis, SMD 2, to an unexpired term ending January 2026. Planning Commission, Linda Roberts Galindo, SMD 5, to a first term ending January 2027. Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone, Brianna Killam, is that right? SMD 1 to first term ending July 2026. Joseph Spano, SMD 2 to first term ending July 2026. Trey Holmes, SMD 3 is chairman of the board for a one-year term ending January 2026. I'm confused about Joseph Spano's moving out of Tom Green County and living in another county, and I understand our policy allows that, which I think we need to re-review our policy.
Well,
It's,
It's both our policy and state statute allows that. So it could be a resident of the county or a resident of an directly adjoining county.
unbelievable.
Just for Tira's board, that's right.
No, it's crazy. All right, huh? Yeah, well, wait. You'll get a payback sooner or later. All right, with that, may I have a motion for approval for these board nominations?
So moved.
Second, public comment? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. We may have a motion for adjournment.
Motion, we adjourn.
Any concern about adjourning?
I just want to thank every one of y'all for my time at the city, and I'll try not to get too emotional about it, but I have loved and worked hard at the city for 16 years, and I've had great support from council and from city management's office and every department. So I really appreciate it, and it's provided an opportunity for me and my family to move on, but we'll miss this place.
You will, because the humidity is bad down there, and you will miss us. There's a motion and a second, I believe, for an adjournment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are officially adjourned at 9:38.